Hi everyone, Kat here, and I went to the Pokemon TCG Regionals in Baltimore with a literal trash deck, aka based around this sentient bag of garbage. Why did I do this? Well, my goal for this game is always to have fun, which I'd argue doesn't have to mean winning. It was my first non-local event since 2001, and this quirky original deck seemed like the best way to accomplish the fun, win or lose. So, a real quick deck origin story. Garbodor does 50 damage for each tool you can discard from your hand. Lots of potential, but you need those tools readily available. Enter my buddy Mad Hat opening the 151 Elite Trainer box as a birthday gift, and... hey, isn't leftovers a tool? Our first ego-fueled thought was, wow, this is so cool! No one's ever conceived of this, but oh, wait, internet. Yep, someone thought of this over a month ago. But we still wanted to build the deck on our own, so we designed different versions of it without checking any deck lists. Both rely heavily on Paldean Student for search. Nearly every Pokemon in here has no rule box, so this is a super versatile card. Lana's Aid for recovery, same reason, and Salvatore for a powerful turn 1 attack. Most versions of this deck were pretty unreliable until we added Oranguru. On turn 1, it searches for leftovers and a Forest Seal Stone, uses that to nab Secret Box, and as you can probably tell from this list of trainer cards, looks for some combination of a trainer, item, tool, and stadium that can get Garbodor out there ready to swing with at least a few tools in hand. Because what you get with Secret Box changes so much based on your opening hand, this deck really forces you to analyze and think fast, and yeah, that would definitely catch up to me as someone who didn't have a ton of experience playing TCG for a dozen hours straight, but we'll get to that later. Arrival! The first night was just to check in, so we went shopping for Pokemon swag and snacks. I used to go to Otakon every year, so the convention center was familiar territory, but it's a different feeling walking in with a crowd of pure Pokemon nerds rather than just general otaku. And by different, I mean awesome. The regionals also coincided with the Brush Mural Fest, which means we got to see artists creating these amazing murals in person as we walked by. Now, as for shopping, I wasn't going to go crazy, but... Mela is on card sleeves now, and there's a bead plushie? Gimme! Actual game day. When I sat down for my opening game, the first thing I did was flip open my notebook. Yes, you're allowed to bring a notebook, but you can't write anything in it ahead of time, so I had to rewrite some shorthand for my ideal opening cards every time. Otherwise, I would forget something. 2 Trubbish, a way to evolve one of them into Garbodor, 1 Dark Energy attached, 2 leftovers in hand, Pecharunt EX on the bench, and at least 1 Snorlax on the bench. Pecharunt EX broke my deck's super cheap price tag when it came out, but a stranded Snorlax kills games with this, so... hi there, you little mochi-obsessed squeaky toy! We drew our opening hands, but still needed to wait for the official start, so I was jotting down how I'd use Secret Box when someone asked about my shirt. It's this one from 2001 Super Trainer Showdown. They wanted to know if I got it on eBay, and when I said I got it by going to the actual event, they actually high-fived me. So even if I lost every other shred of TCG respect I had by playing this deck, at least I had that. Round 1 was against a Chin-Pao. I'm a big fan of the Treasures of Ruin, so I'm pretty familiar with this deck as I've played it a lot myself. I got to go second like I wanted, so I went off my notes and was able to win the first match by shutting down any frigbacks before the deck could get going. The next game went to my opponent, and the third one couldn't be finished in time, leaving it a tie. Round 2 was against a Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt is a decent matchup for me purely because of the 2-prizer versus 1-prizer imbalance. I added Pheasantipity EX to my deck at the last second, and knowing nothing else about my deck makeup, my opponent gusted it, sparing some of my more crucial Pokemon. This is actually one of the things I like best about playing original decks. Your opponent has no clue what cards you have, they have to take their best guess. I actually won this round and I was pretty over the moon. Mostly because now I could make this video without reporting back, yep, I brought a weird, quirky deck and lost every round, shocking no one. Round 3 was against another Raging Bolt. I won the first game, but I screwed up pretty bad in the second. I've been taking 2 prizes per KO so much until now and was thinking about my next turn when I went on autopilot and pulled 2 for KOing a normal Sandy Shocks. We called the judge, but it took them some time to notice us and come over, and the timer didn't pause until they arrived. So I felt genuinely bad for costing my opponent valuable playtime. That one ended up being a tie because we couldn't finish the third game. I've played against people who clock saw on purpose and it sucks, so even doing that inadvertently did not feel good. But round 4 reminded me that we're all human and we mess up sometimes. It's okay. My opponent at one point dropped their hand and the brand new super smooth card sleeves went sliding all over the prizes, knocking a couple of them sideways and making it really hard to tell where the hand ended and the prizes began. The head judge actually came over for this one, and after hearing that the cards slid forward, they were able to make a call on which cards were in my opponent's hand. They proposed giving a warning instead of a penalty, to which I said, yeah, of course. I mean, no harm was done, we just couldn't tell on our own what to do next. My opponent won that game, and they totally deserved it. They adapted to my deck really quickly, and it would have sucked if they lost or tied due to slippery card sleeves. Round number 5 was the third game in a row where a judge got involved, but it was just a rules clarification this time. No one messed up. My opponent had a Lugia V-Star deck, which I'm pretty familiar with, but by this point I was definitely feeling the fatigue of so many games in a row, coupled with the lack of proper lunch or mental break. I won a very long first game, but we weren't able to finish the next one. My opponent seemed to think that you needed 2 wins to take the round, so I thought that meant a tie. They told me they'd happily take a tie, but I called a judge over to be sure, who informed us that since I'd won the only game we'd finished, the round was mine. Round number 6 was my only one against a full-on control deck, which I couldn't really be annoyed at since it used 3 Team Star-related cards. Though, not my fave Ortega because his card is less than useless. Luxray's Disruption didn't work nearly as often as it might have in other decks just because my most valuable trainer card is Leftovers and I want it in the discard where it's safe for my Ono. But Radiating Pulse was still pretty devastating when I didn't have Pecharon available. So I did lose that one, but I had a really fun time with it. Round number 7, I went against Roaring Moon. Absolutely my worst matchup because I lose the advantage of the 1 prizers. And it was the first time I can really say I bricked hard. It was the second game and I'd already lost the first. So for several turns, I just had Pecharunt doing nothing in the active spot, no bench, and Penny as my only supporter in hand. When my opponent made clear they could win that turn, I showed Penny and they actually let me use her to end the game on my own. Guessing it was obvious, nothing I drew could save me by that point, but I 100% would have signed the slip before they passed their turn if asked. Pulling a Penny takes her Pokemon and goes home in regionals was just super fun, and I'm really glad they let me have that. Round number 8 was against a Regidrago, and this one probably had the best move I'd seen someone use against an unfamiliar deck. Not knowing what I had, they played defensive with Gudra's attack, and it totally threw me because I didn't have the tool ammunition to overcome it like I thought I would. So another loss, but it was really cool to see someone assume my deck could be a threat and treat it that way. Also, Manaphy finally did its job in this game and kept my bench safe from a Kyurem attack, so good job, oh most brutal of all Pokemon to shiny hunt. The highlight of the day though was round number 9, or rather the game after round number 9. Up until now, I'd had a mix of reactions to my deck. Going purely by facial expressions, I'd say some people definitely underestimated it at first, but most people complimented how original it was, and that felt really good. I never went in with any delusions that I could leave the competitive scene for 20 plus years and then return and break into the top cut with a completely original deck design. I just wanted to have fun playing my deck my way with other people who love this game as much as I do. I lost round number 9 when my opponent took the first game, and again, we couldn't finish the second. But instead of packing up, they asked, "Do you mind if we finish this? I really want to see how it goes." I don't think I could get any bigger compliment that after over a dozen hours of play, even after the slip had been signed and collected by a judge, my deck was providing an interesting enough experience that my opponent wanted to play it until the end. Players slowly trickled out and headed off to dinner. Oh, hey, let's roll footage of that Eevee ramen I had later. And this massive space got more and more empty as we played. At one point, a judge came over and asked if we still had a slip to turn in, to which the reply was, "No, we did that already. This is just for fun." Thanks for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed. Hey, where'd my ramen go? Right, of course. Okay, obligatory request to subscribe and watch more videos, but most of all, happy training and have fun.